Today, we're looking at 5.03 acres of land for sale in Costilla County. And in this video, I'll cover the top things that will help you decide whether this property is a good fit for you based on my experience selling over 700 parcels of land. So let's start with location. This property is in southern Colorado in a valley area between two mountain ranges. So this is a pretty rural area. The closest town is Alamosa. It's right in the foothills of the mountains, so you will get great mountain views here. And surrounding land uses include off-grid homesteads, recreational properties, and as you can see here, some agricultural land as well, because this area does have a fairly large agricultural base. All right, so let's look at what the property looks like. And so as I said, this is a fairly rural area. It's characterized by wide open space. This area is pretty flat. We're getting into the foothills of the mountains, but we're still in the valley. So you don't have a lot of the terrain issues you would get when you're closer to the mountains. We're near a creek, so you do get some of the more creek bed type vegetation on part of the property. And you do get the mountain views as you see here. So this area, as I was saying, is very popular for people looking for homestead off-grid living land and recreational land. It's a good fit for someone looking for an area that's still largely undeveloped, near nature, that's very private, away from many people, where you don't get a lot of noise or neighbors. It is, of course, not for someone looking for a suburban lot where you're getting maintained roads, public utilities, and a grocery store right next door. Right. But here you can get a nice view of the creek that's running through the area. So I know one thing I've actually gotten a lot of interest in this property, and it's because it's one of the few properties we have in this area that does have water on it. For some people, that might be a big red flag, but for others, including many people who've reached out about this property, that is actually the draw for this lot. I think especially if you were looking for an off-grid homestead, you know you have water potentially for livestock, although of course I would contact the Colorado Division of Water Resources to make sure that you could use that water for this purpose. Other people might want a recreational property that does have that water feature on it, both for the beauty or maybe potentially for something like hunting. So that has been the feedback I've gotten on this property, is that the water feature here is a pretty big draw for this particular lot. It is actually one of the most photogenic of the properties we have in this area as well. The mountains are right there. You have the water feature, a little more varied terrain and plant life on this property as well. There are a few other things I want to mention about this particular property, though. And that is, so there is a railroad in the back. I don't know how active it is, but that's something to keep in mind. Also, this road here, you can see from this plat map, it is a legal road. So there is a legal easement that would give you the right to access the property from this road, but it hasn't been built out to the property. So the road doesn't physically exist right now. It stops about, let's go zoom in here, because there is a home a little way down here. So it's stopping somewhere around here where this home is. So that's something to keep in mind. I've had a number of people who are actually actively looking into this right now. They really like the water feature, the proximity to the mountains, and just the landscape and natural beauty of this property. But they're looking, and they're just doing some research on it right now. But this property would be best for someone who has the capability to extend out the road or get to the property without the physically developed road, or for someone who's looking for an investment property and who doesn't need very easy, immediate access right now. All right, so now let's talk about what you can do with this property, because I know that's one of the biggest questions anyone asks when they're looking for property. Now, a reason that this area is a big draw for those who are looking for homesteads or off-grid living is that it is very lightly regulated, or should I say the zoning is more permissive here than in many other parts of the state. So I'll start by saying that there's no HOA here, so no additional layers of private restrictions. And the zoning is estate residential. So I'm going to pull up the zoning ordinance so we could see what that allows. It does allow for accessory dwellings and structures. These are small buildings that are built along with a main residence. It does also allow duplexes, actually, and earthship homes. So this always makes me laugh, but I love that Costilla County actually calls out earthship homes. That does suggest to me that they are open to alternative building methods. Anyone who's not familiar with an earthship, it is a type of home that's designed to be as passive as possible. So that is to say, it's designed where you need very minimal, if possibly no, mechanical heating and cooling, even in climate like the desert, where you definitely get heat and sometimes cold. So it's an interesting concept, very useful for something like off-grid homesteading, right? So a few other things that the zoning ordinance allows includes livestock and animal husbandry. So some of the basic homesteading activities are allowed. It does also allow mobile homes, which is good. Many areas are restricting those. And of course, regular single-family homes are allowed as well, including homes that are powered by solar energy and wind energy. So it has a pretty wide range of allowable uses in the zoning designation. Again, why this particular area is popular for those looking for off-grid living homestead type situations. Now, in terms of RVs, we need to update. So they are not allowed for full-time living, but you can camp for up to 14 days without a permit. And there might be, I would confirm this with the county, but there might be additional permits for slightly longer camping stays as well. So full-time RV living is not allowed, but this would be a good recreational lot where you could do slightly longer stay in an RV. So aside from the off-grid living, folks, a lot of people buy land out here for camping. And I've heard that too from many previous buyers. A lot of people from, say, Denver and other parts of Colorado who are looking for a more untouched natural area where they can go for the weekend to camp and do a little more kind of rugged off-grid camping near the mountains. Okay. Quick note, as I've been saying, this is an off-grid lot, so you would have to rely on solar, well, septic, or if you didn't want well, water hauling, which is something that some people in this area do as well. Another thing that I do want to note is annual taxes are only about $300, which makes this very feasible as a long-term hold. So if you are looking for an affordable investment property, this would have very few carrying costs over the long term. Or if you were looking for a property eventually to put a homestead on, but you were going to take several years to build that out, again, the carrying cost would be relatively low. So you have some leeway to ramp up to your eventual building project. Okay, now I do also want to call out a few other aspects of the property that are important to understand before purchasing, especially if you want to build. Okay, so as I was saying, here's the railroad and here's that legal road. So let's take a more detailed look at the terrain. As I said, we are still in the flat valley area here. So the property itself is relatively flat, as we can see from the contour lines here. It appears to have very little slope, and the approximate elevation is about 7,980 feet. No oil wells nearby, so that's good. Turn these off. No solar farms. And it is, one thing to note here is it is in a special hazard flood zone. That is because there is that creek running through it. So we can see that here. There's this creek running through the property. So again, as I was mentioning earlier, this is one of those features which for some people would mean this property isn't a good fit. For others, as I was saying, I've heard from many people who've been inquiring about this property that what they really like is actually the creek on this lot. So it is important to note it is a water resource or a natural feature, but you would have to plan your build around that water resource. You wouldn't be able to build necessarily right on the creek, of course. And there is a possibility that you might need to get flood insurance if you were taking out a construction loan to build, because it is, the creek does put it in a FEMA flood zone. Now, if you're looking at this as a recreational property, these are less important features. Soil type. So it does have the same soil type as almost all other properties in the area. I call this out because one thing that we always look into prior to purchasing a property is whether the soil type on the property, it shows up on other properties in the nearby vicinity, especially those that have been built on. This is just to check whether the soil has been proven to be able to support a septic system on other lots. So there is a home here. I would assume it's on septic, and it does have the same soil type, so that's a good sign for being able to put in a septic system. Now, another out here, wells are going to also be one of the key defining features, especially when you first start building. So this is an arid climate, but as you can see from this map, many people have successfully drilled wells in this area. There is actually an aquifer under the whole region. I don't have data on how deep the wells are. All I know is that many people have been successful in drilling them. I'll also say that according to our research, you do not need water rights if you are drilling a simple domestic well, but I would always confirm with the Colorado Division of Water Resources. I'll pull up their website. They are the ones who permit wells. Yep. So, as I said, our understanding is you do not need water rights if you're just drilling a simple well for domestic use, but you can always give the Colorado Division of Water Resources a call to go over the well permitting process. And one thing I would note, so many people have successfully drilled wells here, but as you are planning out your build, I would expect that you will have to drill a somewhat substantial depth in this area because we are in an arid climate. Although the fact that there is a creek here does signify that the water table's a little bit higher in this particular area. So that might be actually a good sign for a well. Okay. All right, so next, let's take a little bit closer look at the surrounding area. Now, because I know many people who are looking for recreational land or off-grid living land do want to be out of the way in nature, but not too far away from a hospital or a grocery store. So let's look at where the closest amenities are as well. So we are pretty close to the main county road in this area. There are a couple small towns in the immediate vicinity, and the closest market, there is a small general store not too far away. This is only, I think, 10-15 minutes? Yeah, only 10-15 minutes away. For a larger grocery store, you would want to go to Alamosa, where you're going to have more of a standard grocery store like Safeway. And Alamosa is about 35 minutes away. So not too bad. Yeah, on the weekend, not a ridiculously long drive to get to groceries. Alamosa would also have the closest hospital in the San Luis Valley Regional Medical Center, so that's also going to be 35 minutes away for your health care. Okay. All right, so I think that covers a lot, most of the basics as far as things you would need to know when you're thinking about whether this property will work for you or not. And that would lead us to perhaps the most important piece of information, the price. But before I get into that, I do quickly want to introduce myself so you know who you'd be working with. Now, my name is Erica. I am the co-founder of Gokche Capital. And Gokche Capital, our company, we sell vacant land. And our mission is to help people across the country become landowners and build their own version of the American dream. We have helped over 700 people buy land at this point, and you can find all of our properties at land.gokcap.com. Now, we do have properties throughout the U.S., so if you are looking in states other than Colorado, you can always check out the map on our main listing page to see all of our other available properties. But today, we are looking at number 801 on our website. It is the property on Casey Road, 5.03 acres. Now, quick note, this is our internal numbering system. You're not going to see this number on the deed. If you did want to call the county or look up the property in the county's records, you would use this number here, which is the assessor's parcel number. But to find the property on our website, you would look for number 801. And actually, since I'm talking about due diligence and research, one last quick note before I get to the price. If you did want to visit the property, you don't need our permission. You're more than welcome to go at any time. On our main listing page, you will find a link to the approximate GPS center point coordinates. If you click that, it'll pull it up in Google Maps so you could get directions to the property. All right, so we do have this property priced at $9,997 plus the $595 dock fee. And another quick note, I'm not a real estate agent. I only sell properties that my company owns. So that does mean you are dealing directly with the owner when you work with us. That also means that we can offer owner financing on all of our properties, including this one. But when you go to our main listing page, you won't see set owner financing terms. And that is on purpose because we don't have set owner financing terms. We do personalize our terms to meet the needs of each individual buyer. So if you are interested in owner financing, just reach out to us and let us know what kind of down payment and monthly payment would work for your budget. And we will come up with a couple options, 3 options that get within your budget parameters. I do, though, want to be upfront about 2 terms. So the first is the higher the down payment, the lower the interest rate. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about your budget. The second is we do say there's no building on or living on the property until the end of the loan term. And this is for liability reasons, but you can use the property for recreational purposes like RV camping, and you can do minor improvements. So things like clearing, fencing, grading, generally things that don't require a permit, as long as you're in compliance with local rules and regulations. So if there are a few things you would like to do with the property prior to paying it off, just let us know and we'll work with you. The other thing I'll mention is there's no prepayment penalty, so you can always pay off the loan early, save on interest, and get started building. In fact, if you pay off early enough, we'll give you cash back. So if you pay off in 6 months, you'll get 5% cash back. And if you pay off in 12 months, you'll get 2.5% cash back on the purchase price. Now, another thing I like to call out is our 365-day land exchange guarantee, because I had heard from many previous buyers that one of their biggest concerns was potentially not knowing all the due diligence that they would need to do and ending up with a property that doesn't work for them. So to solve for that, we did create the exchange guarantee. The way it works is anytime in the first year you're financing a property from us, you can come to us and let us know you'd like to exchange the property for another one in our inventory. You would pay another doc fee, but then once you do that, we'll move all of the principal payments you've already made over to the new property, and that way you can move forward with a property that really does work for you. The other thing I'll call out is, based on feedback from hundreds of previous buyers, we did put together a landowner success bundle that comes free with every purchase. It's a set of 9 bonuses designed to help you get the most from your land. And these bonuses include exclusive offers with mobile home manufacturers and dealers, monthly landowner Q&A calls with me, a complimentary vacation voucher, hotel savings card, a free 30-minute architectural consultation with me because I do have a background in architecture, a homesteading guide, building and zoning guide, post-closing checklist, and exclusive neighbor lookup tutorial. So all of these bonuses do come free with every purchase. You get them once the deed's recorded. So that's either upfront with a cash sale or at the end of the loan term with owner financing. And if you are interested in this property, I do recommend taking the following 2 next steps. The first would be to hold the property on our website. And I say this because in the past, we would have buyers who would go visit the property or take a few days to do their due diligence. But then when they would come back to us ready to move forward, I'd have to tell them that the property was sold. So to keep this from happening, we did create a hold feature. It lets you take the property off market while you visit it, do your research, or get funds together. It's $50 to hold for 2 days, and you can hold for up to 8 days at a time. All you have to do to hold the property is click buy or hold on the website, and then click hold and go through the automated checkout process. So that's step 1, hold the property. Step 2 would be to book a call with me to go over questions, next steps, and owner financing if you're interested in owner financing. So my personal calendar is at call.goatcap.com, and you can book a call there. I'll also mention that if you are watching this video and you're just sort of starting out on your land search, you're still not certain what property will work for you, on my calendar, you can also book a free land strategy call. On that call, we can go over your general land buying goals and some of the top things that I would recommend you look into on any property you're researching to make sure you get a lot that actually allows you to do what you would want to do. On these calls, we can also look through some of our inventory to see what might work best for you, but that's not necessary. We can only do that if you're interested in it. So you can book that free land strategy call on my calendar as well. I'll also mention that if you're actively in the market for land and you're looking at a couple different properties, I do free property reviews on these live streams as well. So I'm live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you would like me to review a property you're interested in for free, you can join any day, 7 p.m. Eastern, and leave your property in the chat, and I'll take a look at it for you after I finish the property of the day. Finally, I also want to call out that we do have a free land giveaway promotion. We run it twice a year. It's just a fun promotion to get the word out about our company. And the next one's coming up on July 4th. So on July 4th, we will be giving away the lowest value property in our inventory live on YouTube. If you would like to participate in that, you can go to freelandgiveaway.com or just go to our YouTube home page and go down to free land giveaway promotion. There's a quick 1-minute video on how to participate. All right. So that's it for today. Again, we were looking at 5.03 acres for sale in Costilla County, Colorado. You can find this property and all of our properties at land.goatcap.com. And this particular property is number 801 on our website. So you can check that out and all the information on the property there. All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.